Dub myself.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And Fontre, because you could shoot the three. Get out of here.
Etan Thomas joining us. I'm sorry that you have to listen to our nonsense, Etan. This happens sometimes on the show. Paulie gets off on a tangent, and then I have to try to reel him back in. So
it was different back then, right? Like when you're in second grade, people give you nicknames.
Yeah, kids are mean. It doesn't mean you have to be mean. That's all.
Were you a bully, Paulie?
No, I was bullied. I'm a tiny little man. You've seen me. I come up to your kneecap. I was terrified of everybody.
I bet you weren't bullied.
No, I was always bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't have that problem.
No.
All right, let's talk some SU hoops here. And, it's a team that's coming off back-to-back losses now. We'll get into the West Coast road trip here in a second. But, I think Pittsburgh's a pretty good team. They were right there. It just kind of slipped away in the end. Are you seeing improvement, even though the result didn't go the way that, Syracuse fans wanted it to go, against Pittsburgh? Are you seeing any areas of improvement with this team? And if so, where are those areas?
I am seeing a little bit of areas of improvement. First you have to give it up for Eddie Lampkin. He had 23 rebounds. Anybody can have 23 rebounds in a game. There's definitely some improvement going on. I think that it's just a shame that we lost that game. But if we would have won that game, he had 23 rebounds, and that was a special game for him. I thought he'd been playing well. He's been kind of relentless, and it's interesting because he's not the most athletic player in the NCAA, but he gets position and he's active on the offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, bringing the energy. So that's definitely. I know sometimes the fans don't like when I bring up positivity, that happened when we have a loss, but that's a positive. I think that Eddie Lampkin played well. We're in a tough spot right now, and going out into the West Coast, which is still, let me just say, it's still weird to say a West Coast swing and you're in college. I still have an issue with that. I don't know if it's even been talked about or everybody just thinks of it as the norm now, but the fact that they're, going from Syracuse to play 2 games on the West Coast, and it just doesn't seem right to me. But that's just me personally.
All right, let me ask you a question. You played center at the highest level in the world. You brought up the positivity. I was just crushed for saying commending Eddie Lampkin on his play myself. Were those real rebounds he got? Because according to our chat, those were he padded his stats with those rebounds.
What's a real rebound and what's a?
You can't do it in college, so I'm trying to explain to it. You remember Rodman used to tap the ball 3 times and they'd give him 3 rebounds for it? In college, you can't do that.
So how is his rebounds not real then? If he got an offensive rebound, or even if he rebounded one of his misses, how is it? I don't know. I don't think that Eddie Lampkin is the problem here. Eddie Lampkin has been playing hard. He's been, having double doubles. He's been, scoring in the post, passing outside the post. He's a willing passer. There's a play down the stretch where he was backing somebody down, and the defense came over for the double king, and he had a nice cross pass over to Bell, I think, for the 3. He's playing well. If anything, you would say maybe he needs to get the ball a little bit more. But I don't think he's the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's the problem either. With that being said, we sit on the show and for 2 hours we talk about what's going right, what's going wrong. So I guess in your mind, what is the biggest problem? Why is this team 9-11? And there are a lot of reasons, right? You throw injuries in there and whatnot. But what is the biggest problem on the court? I guess, and the biggest reason why this team is 9-11.
So each game is a little bit different. Just take the last game, and I thought that we played well. I don't think that we necessarily played terrible defense. I thought the defense was right there. I think sometimes, there was a rotation and they just knocked down shots. There was one rotation I could think of that was it was down the stretch on the top of the key. Just a split hair late, and then they knocked down the 3, and another one was a transition 3. I don't know. The defense, I think, is getting better. I know that one of the things that Coach Autry emphasized, that he wanted us to rebound better. And I think that's, there's some key rebounds that he saw down the stretch, and he felt that we should have got those rebounds. In a game where your big man has 23 rebounds, that I would say, okay, yeah, everybody else has to kind of pitch in, and that can't be a point. But we also out-rebounded the team. I don't know what the numbers are, but we out-rebounded them by a very sizable amount. Of course, you can look at outside shooting. Oh, go ahead. I want to jump. Go for it.
They did out-rebound them by a lot, but is there something like situational rebound? Like you got to know when you need it. It's more important to get a rebound. Because Syracuse did dominate them in the rebounds, but they tied them at 16 with second chance points.
Well, of course, we definitely have to convert, with some of those offensive rebounds. And I think that's what Coach Autry was really referring to when he said that there was key rebounds down the stretch that he wanted us to get. And that's fair. So players have to look at themselves and make sure that they're not missing rebounding assignments, make sure that they're boxing out, make sure they're going after the ball, and also converting on the second chance points. I think that's definitely fair to say. But as a whole, we rebounded well that game. I can't say that as a whole we didn't. But, yeah, the key areas of the game, you have to rebound when it counts.
You brought up the West Coast swing, and, they're at Stanford tonight, and then they're at Cal on Saturday. They're going to be gone for 6 days. They're going to take a red eye back, early Sunday morning, and then they play number 2 Duke on Wednesday. You could speak to this, haven't played, again, as Paulie pointed out, at the highest level. Not from a pro perspective, but from a college perspective. So put yourself back at SU and, missing that much class, being away, having to fly that far. Like, how much does that affect, a student athlete and who's not used to this? Because this isn't the NBA where you're flying somewhere, every other night. How much does that affect, in your mind, a college athlete?
I mean, it's a lot. That's a pro schedule. You're not supposed to be having a West Coast swing if you're in college. I mean, that's something that's just really new, and that we can speak to the different, merging of conferences and, what it's really all about. And I definitely have issues with a lot of that. But yeah, then to come back on a red eye and then, have to play in 48 hours or something like that against some of the better teams in the league. I mean, that's tough. And I'm not going to lie, that is tough. And it's interesting when you hear people, point to different. I think I saw sometimes, I try not to read social media too much, but sometimes, seeing some of the comments and they're saying, okay, they have an issue with Eddie Lampkin, I guess a commercial that he was doing, and how that's taken away from basketball. And I was like, so this kind of a swing doesn't take away from basketball, but him doing a commercial cooking is, I mean, it just, I don't know. Sometimes people like to point to everything when things aren't going right. I know sometimes, I was listening to one of the callers, maybe it was last week. He was talking about the uniforms. The other one was talking about the shoes. One was talking about the back brace. I'm like, come on, don't overdo it here. You know what I mean? I'm thinking that you just want the guys to win, and we all want them to win. I understand that, but don't point to stuff that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Let me ask you about that, because how important it is when you're focusing on basketball class to have something like cooking or anything that you do outside of it, just to get away from it for a little while?
Of course, you go crazy if they just sit around and listen to the fans' comments all the time and read what they're saying. It's just interesting, But that's when things are not going well, that people start to point to other things, and that's what happens. You just got to win games. But no, they guys have lives outside of basketball. They have to go to class. They have to study. They have to do everything so you're telling me if you're studying for a big calculus test or something like that, do they have an issue with that as well? It's taken away from basketball. The guys have to do things to be able to get through. And, if Eddie Lampkin is cooking, that's okay for him to do. There's a lot of worse things he could be doing trying to get through this tough match than cooking.
Yeah. Tal, we got to run, but just last question. I mean, what are your expectations for tonight? Stanford's a double-digit favorite. They've got, arguably the second best player in the conference behind Cooper Flagg. What are you expecting tonight against Stanford?
I mean, it's a little tough. Stanford's had an interesting type of schedule in the beginning, but they do come in with a pretty good record. I mean, it's at 11 o'clock at night. I don't know. I'm going to stay up until midnight to watch them play. I don't know. It kind of puts us at a disadvantage. Number one, that we're playing that late, and they're college kids. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot that they have to overcome with that. So it's going to be a swing. I think in this West Coast swing, they have to at least split. I think you need to in the situation that we're in. So I think that's what we have to do. We have to at least split.
Yep. All right. Stanford tonight, Cal Saturday. Etan, as always, thank you for the time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Sounds good. Have a good one, fellas.
All right. You as well.
Thanks.
Etan Thomas joining us.